I'm dressed for the Pope. We're mourning. I've got family members there, and I'm trying to be somber in that. Joining us now, the Fun for Lunch Bunch crew, Lisa Mateo and Daniel Ives of Wedbush here in a bright pink. For those of you on radio, you're lucky. Wearing bright pink today. Calm it down, Dan. Is this a corduroy look you're wearing?
It is. It's a corduroy. I mean, a little. Could be a little even Sweeney influenced.
I don't know.
Lisa,
you can't see me wearing that, can you?
I cannot.
The pink sport coat.
I could see him walking into a showroom, a Tesla showroom, and saying, "I'll take one of those."
I'll take one of those.
Paul, why don't you leave it up with his worship?
Dan, we had Tesla report earnings last night. We had Mr. Elon Musk on the earnings call. The earnings were very disappointing, yet the stock is trading higher. Why is the stock trading higher here?
I mean, numbers were basically took a backseat. We already knew it was a disaster quarter. This was the moment of truth for Musk to basically, what I view as it's an off-ramp to Trump White House and Doge. And that's essentially what he did. And he took a major step back on Doge, says 1-2 days a week. I think this is the beginning of the end there, and going to recommit as CEO of Tesla. Look, the reality is, and we've talked about it on the show, brand damage was at a point he had to read the room. And if he didn't make this decision now, it would have been dark days ahead. And that's why the stock's going to be up, because now Tesla got back at CEO.
Now Tesla's in a new world of competition. It just looks to me as a layperson here, China is taking over the EV market globally, with the exception of the United States. How does Tesla deal with BYD and others?
Look, I don't view it as, that it's, you can't have success from Tesla as well as BYD. I don't view it as zero-sum game.
Okay.
But look, Tesla has work cut out for them. I mean, they have to have a new vehicle that comes out. You have to have the refresh in terms of Model Y. And the reality is China's 45% of sales. So that is the hearts and lungs of Tesla. But that's also why it's so important. There's only one person that could engineer this turnaround in China. It's Musk.
And I think Elon is probably the best I've ever seen of kind of, maybe Jeff Bezos as well, kind of redirecting investor sentiment where he wants it to go. And I think he's saying, don't look at me as a metal bender car company. Yeah. Look at me as an AI company, a robotics company. Is that valid?
I mean, we believe the core value of the future of Tesla is autonomous and robotics. And obviously, Keene will be in that unsupervised FSD in Austin in June. I know he's getting ready. And look, I think this is just the beginning of what we're going to see in terms of autonomous. That, to me, is the core value.
You're not going to do autonomous on 58th Street, New York City. I mean, it's just not going to happen.
I truly believe over the next 3, 4, 5 years that autonomous is going to start to represent 5, 10, 15% on.
Rarely do I say I don't agree, but he's wearing pink. I don't agree. Okay, let's go to Intel. We've got a major story out this morning. This has gone worldwide instantly on Bloomberg. This is Intel down 66% from the peak, and it's just simple. Brilliant reporting by Jane Lenny Lee and Ian King. They're going to lay off 20% of their staff. The annual report of 2019. We are a world leader. Our vision, our commitment to corporate responsibility and sustainability. What happened? This thing was iconic. Dun, 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 dun.
I mean, just think about it. Go back to where NVIDIA was 2019, 2020. I mean, if you look from Gelsinger to just the whole corporate structure there, the red tape. I mean, Intel, it's really a business case study for what happens when you go.
It is a CFA business case study.
It is. It's what happens when you're on the treadmill. You think no one's going to catch you.
Okay.
Apple makes their own chips because ultimately they boxed out Intel.
I am a Kodak brat from Rochester. I live this with Kodak. The marketing guys take over, the slick guys take over, and the company goes down the tank until you bring in Culp from GE or Danaher to bail it out. Their growth strategy is they got to get back to basics in an engineer-driven company. Is that a legitimate model, or is that just blah, blah, blah?
I think it's a model, but I think those days have passed. I know that they're doing this huge cut that was reported, on Bloomberg, but I think the reality is that this is going to have to be a breakup. They're going to have to restructure the company. You're going to have to ultimately sunset different projects, focus on some of the growth areas. But because the reality is for Intel,
right?
You talk about dark days. I mean, if you look up disaster in the dictionary, you'd see Intel's ticker.
Okay, my book of the summer, I think maybe it was book of the year, I can't remember, it was Chip War. Is Intel competing against Taiwan Semiconductor? Are they competing against some amorphous Chinese blob we don't know? Who beat them? Who defeated Intel?
I mean, AMD, NVIDIA, TSMC. I mean, like when you think about Intel had the opportunity, just go back to AI, the opportunity to go after AI, go back to next generation chips. And what they essentially did was, look, it's no different. Like they're like a typewriter company, mid 90s, being like, this internet window, this is ridiculous that people, and what happens 2 years later? That company is bankrupt. So
I got yelled at for that.
look,
I would say, no, dog piles for real.
But
and they're like, yeah, they're laughing at me.
that's the sad thing that's happened in Intel. And look, you obviously have a new CEO, but this is a very, it's really the collapse of a U.S. icon.
Paul, ask a question. My rods and cones are hurting.
Exactly.
My eyes are hurting, folks.
Hey, just a red headline crossing the tape there, Tom. I want to get that out. Boeing, first quarter negative adjusted free cash flow, $2.29 billion, and the estimate was $3.4 billion. So better on the free cash flow story for our friends at Boeing. The stock is up about 5% here, pre-market.
It's ironic talking Boeing and Boeing and Intel in the same sentence.
Exactly. We got Apple, we got Amazon, we got Microsoft out with earnings next week. What are you looking for? Is it driven by tariffs? Is it AI? What's driving tech these days?
Look, the reality is that I expect basically no guidance or some crazy caveat guidance again. But when you look at like Apple, it comes down to like if these tariffs get them de-escalation, the story massively changes, as we've talked about, because then iPhone 17 comes out, the AI story. You think about it from a hyperscale perspective in terms of CapEx, right. Everyone's waiting. But today it's a pivotal moment, whether the walls were caving in or whatever, and for tech, a huge bullish day.
I got 42 seconds. You've been on the floor in China where they make Apple stuff. Mm-hmm. Can Americans do that? We got funny videos, snarky videos out on Twitter of people, Americans sitting there making iPhones, and people are laughing. This is not funny. You're an expert at this. Can you transfer that manufacturing discipline to Illinois?
I've said from the beginning, it's impossible because of the nature of the IP in the supply chain, the nature of the labor force there. When you're in Taiwan, when you're in China, and that's why I've said from the beginning, we've talked about on the show, last 3 weeks, fairy tale that's going to happen. And again, if you want a $3,500 iPhone, let's build them in New Jersey or Manhattan. Yep. But the reality is we see no way that happens. I'm not saying onshoring can't happen, but that is a fairy tale, and that's why the market has reacted the way it has.
Yeah, Afterthought just woke up, and she emailed in. She said, can you ask Mr. Ives if you can get his tailor? She thinks I'd look good in a pink.
I've told you pink's your color, but I'm glad others.
Is this a New York tailor we're looking at here?
This is actually Taiwan, but the point is like, look, but I'm glad Keene's finally on the train.
Did a clear customs.
Dan Ives, thank you so much, particularly the comments there on Intel. An extraordinary story from Bloomberg today. 20% speculated out the door at Intel. Bloomberg surveillance.